Hey, fourth grade. So here we are, science at home. So we just finished learning about body systems, particularly in humans, and then 3 essential body systems. So now we're going to flip back over and start thinking about plants. And we're going to talk about 2 essential processes that happen in plants. Today, it'll be photosynthesis. And our next lesson will be on pollination. So just letting you know what's coming up. So today you're going to need a notebook. You're going to need something to write with. And if possible, add a little color. But again, not markers because it bleeds through and then we can't write on other pages. So a green crayon or colored pencil would work great. If you are able to print, you can print out this note outline. Okay, and I will show you how that will look when your notebook's done. So if you are able to print, this is what it'll look like. We'll have these flaps, we'll write definitions underneath, and you'll see I added some green color. Okay, but most of this video will show you how to do it. If you can't cut it out, that's okay, totally okay. Okay, so let's start with our I can statements. So we have I can explain, that's our action word. The process, we'll get into understanding what process is. We've talked about that with systems. We talk about the respiratory system and digestive system and circulatory system. They each go through a process. So I can explain the process of photosynthesis with a diagram. Okay, and that's our vocabulary word, photosynthesis. That's going to be a primary objective. I can share, it's your action word, an image of my diagram in Flipgrid. So after you're done taking your notes, all I want you to do is show me your diagram. Okay. And now this last one is optional, but I'm going to show you how to do it at the end of the video. I can conduct an experiment to prove a plant breathes. And when it does that, it releases water vapor. Okay, so we're really focusing on the first 2. But then I'm going to show you, if you guys have the ability, and you have to check with an adult before you do this. I don't think your parents will be too happy if you do this experiment without checking with them first. But I'll show you how to conduct an experiment. I'm going to walk through a presentation with you. So make sure you have your notebook ready and something to write with. Okay, so there's your heading. Please write that. Preferably on the right side of your notebook, but I'm not going to worry about it. Please write that as your heading. Photosynthesis. I'm actually going to write it on both sides of my paper, but it's going to be a little different on the other side because we're going to write a definition on the other side. So it's a heading on the right side, and I'm getting ready to write a definition on the left side. So what is photosynthesis? Okay. Photosynthesis is the process of plants making their own food. Now you see I have that underlined? That's because I want you to write that on the left side as your definition. Okay, so we're writing that on the left side because we're going to have our diagram on this side. Just to let you know, since I mentioned the I can statements, we're going to have a diagram. And by the way, you're looking at the diagram right there. But we're not ready to get to that yet. So let's work with definitions first. So photosynthesis, the process of making their own food, of plants making their own food. Okay, but I'm not done with that definition. I want you to add to it. And if ever I'm going too fast, you can always hit pause on your video. It occurs in the leaves of the plants. Can you add that to your definition? Where does it happen? In the leaves of the plants. And now I want to also quickly show you, if you did manage to print it out, you're going to be putting it all underneath this arrow, writing all that right underneath the arrow that says photosynthesis. Okay, so again, I'm going to have definitions on this side and our diagram on the other. So it doesn't matter which shape the leaves are, if they're dark green or light green, that's where it happens. Also, it doesn't matter if it's green or if they're red or yellow or they're a different color. Okay, but what gives our plants that green color is something called chlorophyll, and that's important too. So that's going to be the next definition we're writing about. Before I get into that, let's just talk a little bit more. This is more of an advanced slide. You don't have to copy anything from it. So for photosynthesis to happen, you need sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. What it produces is something called sugar in the form of what we're going to call glucose for most of the other slides, oxygen and water vapor. That's what it produces or gives off. Now, if we were to write it as an equation, and that's what we do with chemistry, this is what it would look like. So sunlight is our energy. We have carbon dioxide, water, which is going to come up through the roots, and chlorophyll. That's an important thing that's in the leaves. In order for it to make one molecule of glucose, oxygen, and water vapor. Okay, so chlorophyll, I've mentioned it a couple times now. Chlorophyll is a chemical found in the leaves. Well, we said photosynthesis happens in the leaves. So that's where the chlorophyll is. Well, that's going to be the other definition you're going to be writing about chlorophyll. Okay, so again, I'm going to hold up the other notebook. And if you were able to print out, that's where you're writing the definitions now for chlorophyll. And I want to color that green. I kind of want that to stand out. Okay, I'm going to move my picture so I am not in the way of your writing. There we go. So could you please write that information? Chlorophyll traps the light energy so the plant can make food. And just an added thing in there, just say that it adds a green color. Now you could say to plants, or you could say to the leaves. You could be really specific to the leaves. So the previous slide, which as I said was a little bit advanced slide, we talk about what is needed. Well, we need light. So that's where the sun comes in. You need light. Plants' leaves use that light to make sugar called glucose. Now, nothing's underlined on this page, so you don't need to copy anything. Okay. So how much glucose does a plant need? I'm going to move this back down again. Well, plants make enough glucose to be used during the night or on cloudy days. Imagine that. Okay. That extra glucose is stored in the plant's leaves and other parts. So, why do we care about photosynthesis? Well, it's really important for us because photosynthesis produces oxygen. And we just learned about the respiratory system. And we need oxygen in order to live. Okay, so now this is the diagram. I'll slide myself out of the way. We're going to try to create. Okay, so again, if you have the cutouts, and I will hold this up at the end for you to see that, you're going to show the arrows pointing in on one side and the arrows pointing out on the other side. But you're also going to have to handwrite water vapor. Okay, so we're going to try to make this diagram right now. So I want you to draw a picture of a flower, making sure it has leaves. I'm going to have a little line for the ground, soil, make sure I got my roots. Okay, and I'm not done. I need to have my sun. And make sure you label it. Okay, so there's my base drawing. Okay, and again, if you have something to color with, that'd be awesome. So I'm actually coloring in my leaves right now, nice and green. And if you have other crayons, you can color the sun yellow, things like that. And now I'm going to add some arrows pointing in. So I've got sunlight, and I'm going to draw an arrow coming down from the sun. I'm going to make it a nice, dark, thick arrow so it really stands out. And I'm going to write light energy. Or you could say sunlight, but I'm adding the words light energy. So again, you're copying what you see up there. Carbon dioxide is a gas that's in the air. Again, you want to draw that going into the leaves, because that's where it's going in. And then water, I'm going to draw going into the roots, because that's how the plant gets water. So those are all my arrows pointing in. And if you had the printout, if you were able to print out, that's what it looks like. Okay. Now, what does it give off? Well, I'm going to point out of the leaf now. Leaf. Now, I'm going to point out on the other side. It gives off oxygen. And if you want, you can put a second arrow on there. I think I will. Oh, that's my phone. But like in class, I ignore it. You guys are more important. And I wrote water vapor. So I have 2 arrows coming out, just like that. Ooh, my page is curling. Oxygen and water vapor. But I also want to make notation of that sentence there. I'm going to put a little star and just say energy from the plant is passed on to animals that eat the plant. Oh my goodness. So we get 2 things from a plant. We get 2 things, okay? We get oxygen and we get food, especially from edible ones, okay? Okay, so I'm going to show you my notebook. Oh, pages keep curling. You'll see I have the definitions on the one side, and I decided to box out the word chlorophyll with green to make it stand out. And there is the diagram. I might, if I can find a yellow crayon, I might highlight the sun. I might find a blue crayon to kind of highlight water. Okay, but I really wanted the green on there. I wanted that to stand out. Now, if you were able to print out, I'll show you that notebook as well. Okay, so you'd have the definition of photosynthesis under this arrow, chlorophyll under here, coloring it green, and then there's your diagram on the other side. And one thing that you didn't have was an arrow that said water vapor, so I asked for that you draw that in. Okay, and that's your notebook, that's your diagram. So let's look back over at the I can statements, and did we do everything? If you use your notes and you go and share this with someone else at home, yes, you can. You can explain the process of photosynthesis with a diagram, because that's what we just did. Then I'd also like you to share that diagram now in Flipgrid. And that leaves us with the last one. So again, you have to ask someone at home before you do this, but I'm going to share it with you right here. So I have this really big plant. Look at my pothos plant. It's big. Well, I actually have a few yellow leaves in there. I'm going to clean out. Okay. So, look how big that is. And then, oh, what's this down here? So what I've done is I've placed this leaf into a plastic bag. Now I didn't pop off the leaf. I just sealed the bag around it. Make sure there's a little bit of air in there. And I sealed it. We are going to come take a look at this bag. And right now it's just air. But we are going to come take a look at this bag next lesson, which I believe is next Tuesday. And we're going to see if we notice anything different. So we are going to leave this on here for about a week. And we're going to see if there's anything different. Okay, so that is the end of this lesson. I highly recommend you go watch the Crash Course for Kids video about photosynthesis, but she doesn't call it photosynthesis. Oh, what does she call it? Vegetation transformation. So I recommend you go check that out and then share with me stuff on Flipgrid. Okay, keep up the good work, guys.